Hey guys, my name is Mark, and today I wanted to talk a little bit about the new update to Adobe Lightroom Mobile, or I guess as it's now called, Lightroom for iPad. I think it also is pretty much the same on iPhone and a lot of other Android devices, that kind of thing. It's sort of everywhere. But this is the newest update. I'm recording this on July 20th, 2017, and we're at version 2.8, and it just came out a couple days ago. You can see it's already got a 3-star rating, so there are definitely some issues, but they have added some cool new stuff to it. So I want to talk a little bit about my workflow trying to use Lightroom Mobile as a professional photographer, how this new update has helped that, and how it really hasn't, and there's still a lot of issues using Lightroom Mobile. Okay, so let's jump right into Lightroom. Okay, so we can see not too much has changed on the home screen, but they've improved the organization a little bit. I couldn't tell you what the difference is without having it be a side-by-side, but it looks fine to me. We've got, I don't have too many shoots here or anything because I try not to sync too much stuff. Maybe as I experiment with it more, my library will get bigger and it'll look crazy. I don't know, but it's fine for now. So first thing I want to show you is just adding photos into Lightroom Mobile. So we can create a collection and we can say, so let's go to add photos up here into this collection. Now these ones have actually already been imported into Lightroom, so they'll probably show up as duplicates, but I just want to show you how that works. So let's just say we want to select a, why isn't that selecting? Okay, so we selected a photo. You can select multiple photos. You can select a range. So if I say I want to go from here to here, and that's always a little bit buggy actually, but if I want to go from here to here, I can select a range. That's great. But let's just say we want to select one image, and there we go. So let's add that one photo in here. Cool, and it said skipped importing duplicate, but it does still make a separate little thing for us here. So let's open up that image. Awesome, we've got our image in here and we've got the info, and it's saying Nikon D610, it's saying RAW, it's saying 4016 by 6016. So that's about 24 megapixels right there. Okay, cool. So that's how you get photos in. Before this step, you have to get the photos onto the iPad. The only way to do that directly is to use the camera connection kit or the SD card reader on the iPad. I'm running a beta of iOS 11. I'm in the developer beta 3, and unfortunately that's actually broken right now. So I had to transfer the files over through AirDrop from my computer, which worked, but it's definitely not the final solution here. Okay, so let's go back to our grid here. I'm going to go into a photo shoot. Just did this yesterday, and so I've got these images and I've actually already star rated them. So the first thing I want to show you is in this main grid view, they've changed some stuff around. Used to be this title up here would be up here in the middle, and that's actually what you tapped on to get to your sort menu. But they've added this little sort doohickey over here at the right. And we can sort by star rating. That's all good and dandy. We've got all our picks, flags, no color sorting right now. Maybe they'll add that in the future, I don't know, but that's all good. We can go through our photo shoot. I have a keyboard attached. I don't have the smart keyboard, but it's the same thing with a Bluetooth keyboard. We can cycle through images with the keyboard just like that, and I can add my star rating. So let's say I want to make these all 4 stars, 4 stars, 4 stars. That all works fine. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Let's go back to 2. Okay, so that's all about the same. Now let's get into the new stuff. So we can see this whole interface looks a little bit different. We've got a lot more information on the screen. We've got more visible buttons, a lot more just information. They've cleaned it up a lot while adding a lot to it, which is great. They're actually taking advantage of all this screen real estate, especially on this 13-inch iPad, which is awesome. By the way, this is the newest iPad, the 2017 12.9. So it's the best of the best you can get right now, and I bought it in a large part to use for my photo editing and see if I could kind of replace my old laptop with this. So let's get into the Develop module in Lightroom Mobile and show you what's different here. We can see they have consolidated everything into this little sidebar. It looks a lot like Lightroom on the desktop, which is awesome. So we've got our light menu. They haven't changed much here. One thing I want to show you that they have changed, which is a great new feature, if you want to change your whites, excuse me on the microphone here, if you want to change your whites and your blacks, you can always drag it up and down. We can see the changes being made on the image there to the whites. But on the desktop, a lot of times I use the histogram clipping or holding the Alt key to show where I'm clipping on the image when I'm adjusting my whites and my blacks and my shadows and my highlights. Now they've added that in part into Lightroom Mobile. So if I want to see that, all I have to do is grab the scrubber for whites and I can start dragging on that and seeing it. But if I hold down on the histogram up here, it will show me my clipping. So I can see where I'm clipping my whites in that red area. And as I bring that up, I'm clipping a lot, and I just want to bring that right about there. That's good. So I'm just barely clipping and just hitting the very top of my histogram there, and I can do the same thing with blacks, and it works with highlights and shadows as well. So that's perfect. That's a great new feature. By the way, to get to your histogram, you might not see it immediately, but that's okay. All you have to do is double tap anywhere, and you will see this information screen cycle through. So I can do my EXIF data, or I can get to my histogram. And I think you can actually change, so you can, if you single tap on your EXIF data, you can change it to different little things. You can see your ratings, blah, 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 all that. Double tap to get to my histogram again. That's awesome. And they've just consolidated everything. So I've got my tone curve built right in here. They do this little overlay thing. Not sure how I feel about that, but all the functionality is still there and maybe even better. So let's get out of light and go down to color. Same thing, they've just made this into its own little menu over here. Well, they've taken it out of its own little menu that was kind of hard to find before and put it into a more standard sidebar view. So we've still got our color mix we can adjust here. So if I want to just bring up the yellows, I can bring up the saturation and do all that fun stuff. Bring that down, darken, blah, blah, blah. That's awesome. So let's undo all that jazz. Okay, still do temperature adjustments, still do my white balance color picker here, which is great. I love that on the iPad. Oops, okay. Get my color picker. What did I do here? Okay, get my color picker. There we go. Okay, so if I just want to make that my white balance target, that's good, and that looks pretty good. Same thing, saturation, vibrance, all that stuff. Cool, so let's get out. Oh, and you can do your black and whites, and you have your white balance presets. Yeah. Okay. No, let's undo that. Okay. Effects. Little change with effects. They've just consolidated it again. You can get to your clarity now. I don't know if you could do that before. I think it might have been a separate preset you had to do, but maybe not. It's got dehaze. I think it had that before too. One thing they have changed is they've taken vignette out of its own separate menu, which is nice. So now it's right built into there. So we can add a little vignette to make it look old-timey. Detail. This is where it gets interesting. So previously you couldn't actually adjust sharpening precisely with Lightroom Mobile. You had to do it through presets, and the only way to do it, let's see, camera. Oh, no. Okay, well, the only way to do it was go to this detail presets, and that's where you adjusted your sharpening and your noise reduction. So you had to pick these presets, and you got what you got, and if you wanted to change it, you had to do it in the desktop version of Lightroom. You couldn't do it on Lightroom Mobile. Well, that's all changed now. They have this detail panel over here, and you can add noise reduction precisely, just like on the desktop, and sharpening precisely, just like on the desktop, and they have masking, which is nice, but they have not added a masking overlay. So even if I hold the histogram, like with the clipping trick, it does not work with masking, so I don't get a mask overlay. Adobe, please add that. That would be fantastic. Okay, let's reset all that. Okay, next is optics. Same with optics. They haven't changed anything really. Just put it in this more organized view. Lens corrections is all we got. We don't have any chromatic aberration or defringing controls. I would like to see that added as well. Now let's go down to info. We've got all of our EXIF data. We can title, caption, blah, blah, blah. And this useless comment thing that I don't think anybody has ever used. Okay. Let's go over to selective edits, another big change here. So previously, you only had access to a gradient tool and a radial adjustment tool with selective edits on Lightroom Mobile. But today, they have added an adjustment brush, just like on the desktop version, and it's actually pretty good. So I've got the Apple Pencil here. And let's say I want to add an adjustment, so I can adjust my brush size, and you can see it being previewed in the middle of the screen there, what kind of size you're looking at, and you can adjust feathering and your flow, all that stuff, just like on the desktop version. Let's say I just want to paint in an area here. Cool. And then if I want to adjust that area, I can go over to any of these menus on the side here, and I can adjust my exposure, and it'll bring that up. And I can do, all that. And that's all great. It's got pretty much everything that the desktop version has. One thing it does not have is auto mask, which, does come in handy every once in a while. It's not the most reliable thing in the world anyway. But I don't know. It might be a nice feature for them to add. One thing I do really like about the new adjustment brush edit is the fact, so I just erased all the adjustment brush I did, and I'm gonna play with these exposure controls on the side. So what it's doing is previewing the adjustment before I've applied anything. So as I'm adjusting the exposure, it's showing me what the adjustment brush will do when I put it on to the exposure. So when I let go, that'll go away, but then I can paint in with my adjustment brush and it'll show up. That's kind of nice. I like that. I don't think that's how it works on the desktop, but that would be a nice feature for them to add to the desktop. So that's awesome. Okay, that is selective edits. Crop tool, not much has changed here as far as I can tell. It's still got auto straightening, all that stuff. I do think maybe this aspect changer is new. I'm not sure about that, but it's a nice little feature to have, so that's cool. Cancel out of that. And presets, I don't think there's anything different other than the look here on the sidebar. Awesome. So that's the good stuff about the changes here in Lightroom Mobile. That's the stuff that I'm really impressed with. And it's made it a lot faster to work with and a lot more like the desktop application, which is awesome. Now I want to get into some of the things that still bother me about Lightroom Mobile. First one is a smaller one, so I'll give Adobe a little break on this one, but it's keyboard support. I've got a Bluetooth keyboard attached here, and I can use this keyboard for some little things. So I'll just bring up my, if you hold down the command key on the iPad, it'll show you what you can do with the keyboard in an app on the iPad. So if you just hold down the command key, it'll show you all of your commands that you can do with the keyboard. So we can rate, we can pick, we can go to the next and previous images, we can copy settings and paste settings, which is good, and then you can go to your grid view. That's great, but it's not as full-featured as the desktop version of the keyboard support on the computer. One thing I would really like to see them add is some support for editing with the keyboard. So, for example, on the desktop, a lot of the times I use the plus and minus keys to adjust exposure, but I'm pressing those now and it's not adjusting exposure. I have to go up and touch the slider to adjust the exposure, which can be kind of frustrating sometimes. I'm a lot faster using a keyboard for something like that than having to go up here and reach and drag and be precise about it. And also, they don't have, I was playing around a little bit with Affinity Photo, and it has some little auto stops built into these. So if you hold down, you can say add, a tenth of exposure, add a stop and a half, that kind of thing. It would be nice to see them add something like that into Lightroom Mobile, so I'm not having to precisely drag and watch my image while I'm dragging and make sure everything is right. I'd like to see that added. Another thing, like I was talking before with that histogram clipping support, that's awesome. But on the desktop version, I can hold down the Alt key on the keyboard and drag my whites, and it will show me the clipping. With that, it does not do on Lightroom Mobile. Another thing I use a lot to quickly adjust my whites and blacks is holding down the Shift key on the keyboard and double clicking on whites and blacks, and it does, and what that does is it brings it right to the point where it's clipping on either of those adjustments, which, you know, works some of the time and actually can speed up your editing depending on what kind of photos you're working with. It might not work with these because they have a lot of white space, but generally that's a really nice feature that I use all the time, and it speeds up my workflow, so I'd like to see that added to Lightroom Mobile. So nothing too much else with the keyboard. Those are some little features I'd like to see. Next thing I want to talk about is exporting images with Lightroom Mobile, or external editing images with Lightroom Mobile. We know with Lightroom on the desktop, it's pretty easy to external edit files, especially if you're using Photoshop, but you can also use pretty much any other application. It'll bring the photos from Lightroom into those applications with all your adjustments or not, whatever you want, and then it will bring them back out of that application after you're done working on them, back into Lightroom Mobile with all your star ratings and all your organization in place, and that's awesome. On Lightroom, not on Lightroom Desktop, not on Lightroom Mobile. So let me show you what happens in Lightroom Mobile. So we've got this image. Let's go over to another image actually so we can give a little better example of this. Yeah, this one will do. So let's say we want to external edit this photo. So we go up to our little share button up here, and we say edit in, and we say maximum available, because we want the biggest image, the full res, everything we got. So these are the two options it gives me, healing in Photoshop Fix or liquify in Photoshop Fix. There's no other options for other photo apps that aren't Adobe's, and there's not even all of Adobe's options. And these are even limited versions of Photoshop Fix. They're not the full version. That's okay. Most of the time, I just want to do some healing. So let's bring it into healing in Photoshop Fix. Okay, so now we've got the image. Let's say we want to spot heal out this little umbrella over here. Perfect. That did a great job. We got a little... Okay, and then we'll do it over here too, and that didn't work, but we'll make our brush a little bit bigger here. I think maybe that'll help. Awesome. Yeah, that's pretty good. I mean, this is a really basic thing. And we can go in here and, you know, zoom in and make our brush a little smaller. I can take out blemishes. It's really nice and easy. Whoops, and I want to undo that because I accidentally did that. Okay, and then I have to use two fingers to scroll out here. It works pretty well. It's zooming and navigating is a little bit tough in this app, but it works. It's nice. Not much control over how the spot healing brush works. It's got a patch tool, which works okay. It's not as good as the content aware patch tool in Photoshop. And even that's not perfect, but this one, it's not quite there. And it kind of works weird too, so I'll just show you a quick little thing. To use the patch tool, you can't just start drawing in an image or... see, I went into spot healing there. So to use the patch tool, you can't... Okay, so I'll show you what I mean here. So to use the patch tool, you actually have to use the spot healing brush first. To do that, you have to spot heal an area. Okay, so it did its work on that area already, but then we have to go to patch tool, and it uses that spot healed area to use on the patch tool, and we can see it does not look very good. But that's okay. I mean, it's got a clone stamp too, you know, basic stuff. Okay, so we've taken out those umbrellas though. That was the main thing we wanted to do. So let's save and return to Adobe Lightroom at the top here. It'll bring it back in, and where did it go? That's a big problem. It does not take you to the image that you just edited immediately. It takes you back to this grid view. Not only that, it takes you back to this grid view, and it takes away your rating for that image. So it takes it back to a 0-star rating. So in order to find that image, I have to go to a flat view, scroll through all my images, takes away all my organization that I've done, and go and find that image. And this isn't even it. So I have to go sort here until I find that image, and that might take a second. Here it is. Yay! Okay, so that was the original, or this is the edited PNG. And you know what I just noticed? It actually took away some of my color adjustments, so white balance doesn't even look the same anymore. Now that's kind of strange. Not only that, let's look over here at the size. 2560 by 1709. This was originally a 6000 by 4000. It's resized it down to like a 3 megapixel image. And not only that, it's made it a PNG. This will sync back to my desktop on Lightroom, but all it does is sync back this small file, and that's all I get. It does not let me get a full res image out of Photoshop Fix. So my external edits are basically useless. I can't use this image anywhere except for maybe Facebook or Instagram or something where I just need a small image. So that really sucks. Adobe needs to fix this problem. I don't know if it's a bug. I don't know if this is how they intended it to work, but it's a mess. It took away my EXIF info, and how this is working, I intend, is that Adobe is only saving these Smart Preview images into Lightroom Mobile, and those are the size of Smart Preview images, 2560 by 1709. So when you get that, that's all you're getting, no matter what you have. So even if I wanted to just save out a JPEG of this raw image, it would save it at 2560 by 1709 onto my iPad. So even if I went to save to camera roll, save to camera roll, it would just save a really small image. The only way to get to my full res images is to go back to my desktop, and my desktop will only have the adjustments I made in Lightroom Mobile. It won't have any adjustments I made in the external edits. Those will all be small images. That's useless. That does not work for a professional workflow. Either they need to fix this problem, and they do need to fix this problem no matter what, but what they also need to do is add a spot healing brush into Lightroom Mobile. I know that on the PC it's a pretty processor intensive job. I'm not really sure why that is, but it's something that's really needed on Lightroom Mobile, and these devices are powerful. Now this machine is twice as fast as my old laptop and almost as fast as my iMac, so no reason to have this limitation, and it really interrupts things. And I was actually editing a group of photos and using this a few days ago, and then I got back to my computer and I thought, oh, all my edits will be there and they'll be all full res and great, and no, they were just small, so I had to redo all my day's work because of this issue. So Adobe, please fix this. This is the other issue. No matter what, all you get in Lightroom Mobile are these Smart Preview files. You can't get the full res RAW file. You can import a full res RAW file, and you can edit a full res RAW file in Apple Photos, but for some reason Lightroom Mobile doesn't support them. It always down-reses them to these Smart Previews and just saves your edits. So that really limits what you can do with this. You can't do a full photo shoot from start to finish on the iPad Pro using Lightroom Mobile. Maybe with some other applications you can, but with Lightroom Mobile, which I pay for and which I intended to use as a professional to edit on, I can't with it. So it's really disappointing, and I hope they fix that quickly. Other big issue with Lightroom Mobile, it only syncs over the internet. You cannot do syncing over a local area connection. You cannot do it over USB. What does that mean? You are chewing through bandwidth. So let's say I import, a wedding to my iPad. It's like 100 gigabytes, and I put it into Lightroom. What does it do? It starts syncing that 100 gigabytes of files right over the internet to my desktop and to Creative Cloud. Cool. Except I have a data cap on my internet, and it's a terabyte, which is pretty big, but after a few shoots, that terabyte will be gone. And keep in mind, it's not just uploading that data, it's also downloading data as I make syncs back and forth between my Mac and my iPad. That's a lot of data being chewed up through Lightroom. Why can't I sync over a local area connection? And why can't I sync over USB? This needs to be solved, and it should be a setting, because I bet lots of people are chewing through their data trying to use this as a professional tool. You know, it's not feasible, and Adobe really needs to come up with a solution for this, because I know people have been asking for it for literally years since Lightroom Mobile has come out. So let's get to work, Adobe. Overall, I'm pretty impressed with what they've done with this update and with Lightroom Mobile in general. I think it is a pretty powerful tool, and I would like to use it a lot more. It's a big reason why I actually bought this iPad. I've never owned an iPad before this, and I was looking forward to using it as a professional tool, and I still can in a lot of ways, but with these limitations, Lightroom Mobile it's limited. So I hope Adobe's listening. I hope they make some of these changes for professional users and for even home users. I mean, I should be able to do a shoot from start to finish on this device. That's what I want. And I know a lot of other applications have gotten to that point. So please, Adobe, I'm paying you $10 a month to get Photoshop and Lightroom on my computer, and I got it here, and it's not cutting the grass. So that's all I have for you today. If you have any solutions to these problems that I brought up, or so my audio dropped out, but I just wanted to say, if you have any solutions to the problems I brought up, or want to call me an idiot, or have any feedback, let me know. I hope Adobe is listening to this, and I hope I helped you out too. Thanks. Bye-bye.